world's finest. Red Skelton has held a soft spot in the hearts of millions of people for over 40 years. His enduring comedy is loved by all for its artistry and its emotion. Who will ever forget The Red Skelton Show? The longest-running variety show in television history, with its famous characters like good old Clem Cadiddlehopper, Sherry Deadeye, and Freddie the Freeloader. Even today, these characters sell out the house when Red tours around the world. I want you to know that we've had a lot of people come to the show. We've had movie stars and rock and roll singers. We have never had the response we've had to this man. The crew had to go have their picture taken with him. We had trouble getting him in here for an interview because of the people lined up. Ladies and gentlemen, a living legend, Mr. Red Skelton.
Thank you. Well, hi. All relatives?
Yep, it's my family and then some. We met a little while ago. I flew out to Banff to see you perform in a show, and you made a promise to me. This is the first one-on-one television interview you've done in about 20 years. Yeah. And you made me a promise. You said, yes, I'll come to your show when I come to Toronto, and a promise is a promise.
Yeah, the reason I did that, it had Margaret Thatcher there,
yeah.
And I figured that, well, it was her time to perform and stuff. So I had one thing I said to her, Banff, I said, ain't this beautiful? She says, no, it ain't. Isn't it? She says, don't you know the Queen's English? I said, I heard she was, yeah. Then we had that Havana Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was just here a little while ago.
Oh, she was?
Yeah, she's written a book and everything.
I heard about that. Yeah, I visited him down in Atlantic City.
Donald.
Yes. He's buying up the town again, you know.
Again?
Yeah. And he don't look Japanese to me.
Did you write your letter this morning?
Yes.
Did you?
Yeah, do they know about that?
I don't know. Did you know that every morning this man gets up? At what time do you get up?
Well, my day starts, I'll give it to you real quick. My day starts around 5:30 in the morning. After I shower and shave, I write a love letter to Mrs. Skelton, whether I'm at home or away. And I do a pencil sketch to illustrate something in the letter. She counted her books the other day, 1,600 pages in each one. She has 310 books just of leather bound. And then after I write the letter, I write 5 musical selections each day. I have over 18,000 copyrighted musical selections. I've written 64 symphonies. London Philharmonic recorded 4 of them. And they're going to do more in October, September or October, one of the 2 days. Then I do an outline for a short story each day. On Sunday, I take the best of the 7 stories and write a complete story. That way I have 365 ideas a year to work from and 52 short stories. See? And then I can do whatever I want to during the day. It's about 9:30 in the morning.
Because then you got spare time.
Yeah.
Nothing to do, yeah. You know.
Then I go out, I do my concerts, and after the concert's over at night, I go back to the hotel, I shower, I lay down and for 1 hour, and boom, without a clock or anything, I wake right up again, and I paint till about 2:30 in the morning. See?
So how much sleep do you live on?
About 3 hours a night.
You've always...
Yeah, and it doesn't bother me. No, people always say, oh, a couple of times a day I lay down in the gutter and go... I don't think a lot of people know that you have this incredible musical talent. You've written all these pieces, you've written books of poetry, and if you look around the studio, there are some incredibly fine paintings that this man does, wonderful oil paintings, and they're all of clowns. A lot of them are characters I recognize. Yes, from the show. But I do still lifes, landscapes and stuff, but I don't paint like Van Gogh or Leonardo da Vinci or what have they painted lately, you know?
So have you figured out what you're going to be when you grow up yet?
No. The reason there was never any publicity about that. When I was on television, all the agents and everybody that around you, they want to, push what the money's coming in on. So, and I found out a long time ago that we're all Christopher Columbus. We like to discover things. Now, when people says, I didn't know he did that, yeah. So then when they tell somebody else, it's more important.
I interviewed Carol Burnett a little while ago, and I want does she know, has she seen this one yet? This is so beautiful. This is one of my favorites.
Well, you know, people walk up and they say, "Is that Carol Burnett?" And I say, "Oh, yeah, that's Carol Burnett." And then they say, "Is that Mary Tyler Moore?" I say, "Yeah, that's Mary Tyler."
Did you realize he painted a picture of me? Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. But you know, when you paint, now people say, "We wish you could paint." Anybody can draw. If you can write your name, you can draw, because writing is drawing, you know? And the one artist I always felt sorry for was Michelangelo. Michelangelo.
You felt sorry for Michelangelo?
Yeah, he lay on his back for 17 years, for 7 years, painting that Sistine Chapel. And the Pope came in, and it was finished. He said, "That's nice, but we're going to need a second coat."
You know.
And Van Gogh, you know, when he cut his ear off, a lot of people don't know this, he went blind.
When he cut his ear off, he went blind?
Yeah, his hat kept coming down over his eyes.
You cannot resist whenever I've seen you when we were in Banff and that little small gathering of people with Yvonne and those other people, and out there when the crew came around, you just automatically entertain and tell jokes.
Yeah.
And you just love it, don't you?
Well, I feel that I was put here for a purpose, and so I try to fulfill it. People will walk up to me and they say, "You do 75 concerts a year?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "Why?" I said, "Well, I got a government to support."
Now, I saw one of your concerts in Banff, and we went to this big dinner, and then someone said, "Brent Skelton's going to entertain for 2 hours." And I went, 2 hours?
Yeah.
Not many people go to a dinner for 2 hours. That's really long. When it was over, I thought, God, that was about 25 minutes, it felt like.
Yeah.
You're, don't you realize you're getting older and you're supposed to slow down
Yeah, you said I was 78?
Yeah.
I'm 80.
80? July the 18th?
July the 18th. I would have been 90, but I spent a year in Hamilton.
I was reading that you started one of your big breaks was at Canadian nightclubs, is where you really started to hit it good?
No, it was at Shea's Theatre, Shea's Theatre here.
Oh, okay, was
Remember that? Yeah. Yeah, I was Master of Ceremonies there for a year.
I didn't know that. Well, I knew it was a Canadian place.
Yes. So that's why I'm so attached to Canada. I have a very deep feeling about it, you know. And I was a year in Toronto and a year in Montreal. I would go 1 week. I'd be in Toronto and then go to Montreal, and then I would pick up the new show. And they only had 5 acts on the bill, but I did an act in between each act. See? So it was a 10-act vaudeville bill. See?
Oh, so you were the act in between the acts here.
And a lot of funny things happened in Toronto. There was one time, there was a fella, I laugh myself to get you. People say to me, "Why do you laugh at your own jokes?" Well, I figured, why have 5,000 people sitting in an audience, why should I be the only guy not getting the joke? But they had on the bill this Swiss bell ringer.
Right.
See? And he was the meanest guy I have ever met in my life. You know, he was the type of guy that would go into the library and press down the letters in Braille books, you know. Mean.
Really mean.
Really mean.
Yeah.
So on the last 2 shows, we were there for a week and did 4 shows a day. The last 2 shows, on the supper show, the crowds were rather small, you know. I switched these bells around. See? He went out and he started playing the most horrible music you ever heard in your life. So that he was mad, boy, he was going to kill whoever did it. So nobody said anything. So he says, "They ruined my life for me, you know." He was real angry. So the next show, he checked all the bells to see if they were in the right places. He goes out to play, and the orchestra stopped, and I'd taken all the clappers out.
You fixed his little wagon good, huh?
But then he started laughing on the stage, and he came off, the dear man, and he wasn't really mean or angry at all. He had received a letter, a telegram on the first day that the show opened, that his wife had died, and he worked out the week because he needed the money so badly,
Aww.
you know. And then I always felt bad about it, but he says that sure snapped me out of it, you know. So yeah.
I know you haven't been on television for a while, but you won't
20
forget.
years.
Well, you won't forget this part. We'll be back right after this commercial break.
Oh, you're going to do that
We're
stuff?
going to do that right now. We're back with the amazing Mr. Red Skelton right after this. Both times that I've met you, I've noticed that you have this large chain. What is that?
That?
Boy, that's your little trinket you got there.
Yeah, those are my baby teeth.
What is it? It's spectacular.
Well, I make jewelry. I did these things. I did all this stuff,
Did you?
the mountings and stuff.
Look at this little tiny diamond he's got here.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that'll get you hit in the head tonight, you know.
Let's see this, Rick.
Wait, you know, yeah, you can put it on.
Isn't that?
Yeah, isn't that nice?
You made this.
Yeah, it's not the stone, but I mean, then I did this, a little wedding ring, and I don't have my watch. I had a watch that I painted a clown on, and I was with Michael Jackson, and he said, "Oh, okay, what a lovely watch." I said, "You want it?" He said, "Well, I said, it's yours." I said, "No, you can have it." So I gave it to him.
You just, I know, I understand. I was reading once where somebody admired one of your Rolls Royces, and you gave it to them.
Yeah.
I think your Rolls Royces are beautiful.
I got another. Yeah, I have another one. I give you one of those little Japanese cars. You know that was so funny. The Japanese says that the Americans were lazy and
Right.
kind of stupid.
Right.
And I was riding in one of those little Japanese cars the other day, and there was a horrible pounding. And we raised up the hood. Here's this little guy still working on the motor.
There's another side to your life. You know, there's a fascination with clowns that you have. Obviously, so many of these paintings are clowns.
Well, I do still lifes, landscape, portraits, everything.
And it was often said that you were quoted saying you did paintings because they sold real well.
Well, the clowns, they sell better than anything.
How much do they sell for now?
Well,
Around $40 to $50 to $100,000.
yeah. I get embarrassed, you know.
Do you?
That's why I send them to the guy. I have 36 galleries in the States and 21 in Canada. Yeah.
You have so many different talents. You're an extraordinarily talented, gifted man.
Not really.
Oh, no?
I don't do anything that you couldn't do, or they couldn't do. You put your mind to things and you can do it, you know.
Do you believe that?
Oh, yes.
But you were such a determined person. I remember reading that you started painting you were poor by cutting your own hair off.
I made my brushes.
From your own
I
hair.
would I used to stay in after school and clean all the paint pots and stuff and put it in little jars for myself, you know.
Right.
And then I would go home and I'd cut big hunks of hair from behind me and I'd put it on and then take a pencil or a twig and wrap around and make brush. Had hairy paintings, but they went. But then I started painting. I must have, I would say 3,000 brushes that have never been used.
3,000?
Yes. And I said to my wife, why is it when I go by an art store I have to buy brushes? She says, because when you were little you couldn't afford them.
Sure, that would make sense.
Yeah. So
Maybe you figure if you buy brushes you'll keep more hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to need it. Yeah, I'm getting to the point now like I'm with him. With us it's no more head and shoulders, it's now mop and glow.
Red Skelton's in town at one of these 75 shows he does a year. You're here doing 3 shows at the O'Keefe Center, and you couldn't get a ticket if you wanted. They are sold out. They're now scalping tickets, as they did in Ottawa. They were scalping them outside for $100 a seat.
Yeah, well, they did the last time I was here. Now, if they weren't sold out, I wouldn't have come on.
I know you told me that in Banff. You said you won't come unless they're sold out. Now, why is that?
Well, because it looks like I'm trying to promote something. The other way, I like you, and I'm here to visit with you.
That's You are so.
I'm not promoting anything.
But at this point, when you are a living legend. You're one of the most famous. Some people are famous, and some people become part of history of the world. And you are part of history.
Well,
nobody would ever think you were promoting anymore.
No, I'm not.
I know, but to be so sensitive about it that, you know, you would even want people, you're very sensitive to that kind of stuff.
People shouldn't come on and visit with someone just to be nice and say, but you were nice to me and you gave me attention, although there was somebody there that's far more important than I was. You know, the young comedians today, what they do after the show is over, they live with that applause and that stuff that they did all day. When I finished my performance, now like last night I did it, and everybody was wondering why I came out. When the show is over, I walk into this empty auditorium, and there's no applause, there's no echoes of laughter, and I say to myself, an hour ago I was important. Tomorrow I must start again. See?
Do you really?
Yes, because most actors suffer with eye trouble. I did this, I did that, I did that. But you're very gentle, very lovely lady. You're like my wife. Well, we've been married a good many years. And I'll tell you an interesting thing. We've only had one serious argument. But I learned a great lesson from it. When we were first married, I got angry and I took a swing at her. And I didn't see her for about 5 days. And then finally my eyes started to open. You know,
you should tell them how you met your wife. It's a rather extraordinary story.
My wife and I've known her all of her life. I used to go visit her father, Greg Tolan, who did Citizen Kane, Best Years of Our Life, Wuthering Heights, and 5 Academy Awards, this gentleman.
And she was just a little thing.
She was a tiny little thing. I used to go over and visit, and I pushed her around in her stroller. Now, my wife that I was married to for 28 years knew that she was dying, and she said to Lothian, if you see your way clear, you take good care of him and don't let anyone hurt him because you know him better than anyone. See? Then she waited until the day our son had died with leukemia 10 years later, and she couldn't stand the pain anymore. The medications weren't helping. And so she took her own life, and she left a note. The reason I chose this day is so that you won't feel bad twice in 1 year.
I know, you told me that. You're a man who's had such incredible success in your life and have given so much happiness to people, and yet you've had so much tragedy in your own life. You lost your own son.
Not really, we all have it.
But you've had your fair share and maybe a bit more. You lost your only son to leukemia.
Yes. Yeah.
And they said that you couldn't entertain any more children's hospitals after that because it was just too hard for you.
I'm a Shriner, a 33rd degree Mason, and I give the Masonic Lodge $250,000 a year to let me alone. Because they come into town and say, well, you come out and visit the children at the hospital. They don't know me, you know, and I've got legs worse than some of the kids, you know. And so I just say, but I help them raise monies and stuff, you know. You know,
you do wear steel braces on your legs, and that's the price that the clown pays.
Over 48 years I've worn these things.
That's from all those falls you used to do?
Yeah. But I don't pay any attention to it. I hurt in the daytime, you know, but then when I get ready to go on the stage, there's like a magic that comes, and I don't feel anything until after the show's over. Then they have to carry me.
I remember the day of your show in Banff, and you do this, and every time you have a show, you stay in your room for a couple of hours.
No, I stay in my room all day.
You have a whole process you go through.
Yes, and I play the tapes, and like the show I did last night, before I do my show here, I will play that tape, because there'll be things in there that I've never said before, and I ad-lib right on the stage, you know, and I go out, and no matter what I put in the show or take out, the show still runs 2 hours, and I can't time. We found a new joke. I say, he says, been out here for an hour and a half, my conductor. And I said, I haven't been out here an hour and a half, have I? And the audience yells, no. So then I say, I got one more thing I want to do. Would you bring me a chair? And so instead of bringing it out, they throw it out on the stage. And I look at it. And I look off stage, and I look at the chair again, and look at the audience, and hour and a half. Like they want to go home.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, a wonderful story about how Red Skelton started in the business. It has to do with a wonderful man called Ed Wynn. We'll tell you that story right after this.
Isn't that great? I was just telling the folks a nice story, and greed set in. I was telling the audience, I only got halfway through it. A little cat died and went to heaven. And so they said, now, if there's anything that you would like to have, you just let us know because we want you to be happy. He said, well, all my life I wanted a big white satin pillow to sleep on. They said, no problem, no problem. So they go to their office. In comes a delegation of little mice. And they said, you have a problem? He says, yeah. That commissary is so far away from where we're stationed that when we're hungry time we get back where we are. We thought maybe you could get us little roller skates or something. They said, no problem, no problem. So they go back to see the cat a couple of days later. And he said, how you doing? He said, oh, now I know what they mean by heaven. He said, that pillow is just wonderful. And that Meal on Wheels is great.
I remember reading this. You did, I don't know how many shows the Red Skelton Show was on, how many.
20 consecutive years.
Now you own the rights to all of those tapes, and you made the statement that you may ask for them to be burned upon your demise.
No.
Good.
No, I'll tell you what that was all. I play a lot of colleges,
right.
And the college students, they ask all the time, when are we going to see your reruns?
Oh,
see?
yeah.
So this one day I go in, and they were talking about art. I go into colleges, I go in residence for 3 days. First day, I give, each day I give talks with questions and answers. First day, political science, propaganda, and communication. Second day's religions. Third day's theatrical arts. So these students ask, this is, did you read about that Indian out in Arizona that burned all of his paintings? Because they were going to charge whatever he sold the last painting for. In case he died, that would be paid to the government. So he burned all of those paintings. So then someone says, what are you going to do if you don't release your paintings? I said, I'll do what the Indian did. See? That's how this started.
Oh.
Nothing was said. And about a year later, someone says, I understand that you're going to burn your paintings. I said, uh-oh. I mean, your reruns. So I said, uh-oh, I've created an interest now. They're interested.
I got their attention.
I've got their attention. I says, yeah, that's what I'll do. If they don't release them before I die, they say, how do you know when you're going to die? I said, I'll put it in my will. So that's how that all got started.
So when are we going to see the reruns of the Red Skelton? Wouldn't it be great to see? Oh, yes! Oh.
Well, I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I haven't released them. I don't think anybody should have to pay money at a box office or invite into their home to hear things that they can read on public bathroom walls. Eh?
Right.
Now, I did a Christmas special for home box office. My contract read that the show in front of me, the show behind me, cannot have violence or vulgarities. Because you can watch 3 shows in a row and you can't remember who said what. So they presented this Christmas show, and some people came up on the street and they said, I thought you didn't do little risque jokes and stuff. I said, well, I try not to. They said, how did you get away with this? And I said, I didn't say that. They says, yeah.
Oh.
No. It was Eddie Murphy. He was on before you.
Oh.
So when they came to me and said, when do you want to do the next movie? I said, you don't have enough money.
Does it upset you when you see these comedians today?
It's a shortcut for thinking, dear heart.
Is that what it is?
Now, Eddie Murphy's a funny man.
He is,
Richard Pryor is a funny man. But they do these things, I think, because they're frightened.
Is that why they do it?
Insecurity. We know these things, you know. They talk about sex education and stuff. Christ, with the population the way it is, can you imagine what it'd be if we knew what we were doing?
Tell them, it was Ed Wynn that actually, and I don't know, he bought a newspaper from you? He was a newspaper
I was selling
boy?
newspapers. I was 9 years old at the time, on the corner of 5th and Main at Vincennes, Indiana. And this gentleman came up and he said, what are they doing in this town for excitement? And I said, well, there's a big New York road show in town tonight with a comedian. Ed Wynn is his name. I said, there's his name up there. It was right across from the theater. And I said, that's what I'm going to do when I get older. I'm going to try to make people laugh, you know. So he says, you going to see the show tonight? I said, no, I don't have that kind of money. He said, I know the manager of the theater. If you come down, I'll see that you get in. I said, well, I got to sell my papers. So I had 3 papers left. And he gave me $1. And papers were only 3 cents a piece in those days.
Ooh.
And if you tore the headline and the name of the paper off at the top, you take it back. You had to buy the paper for 1.50 cents, eh?
Right.
And you had to buy 2 or 3 papers at a time. So I'd buy them and sell them. But if you turn the headline back in, they give you your money back.
Right?
See, they give you money back. So I went home, I told my mother, and I gave her the $1, and she gave me a dime. She said, "Now you come right straight home." So I went down to the theater, and I didn't know he'd be there or not. She gave me a dime, a nickel for popcorn, and a nickel for car fare on the way home. So I go down, and here's this man standing in front of the theater, and I said, "Well, he's a nice fella, see?" So I'm sitting in the balcony, and all of a sudden, a body comes through the curtain. And I look real close. I said to the people around me, "That's my friend down there. He got me this." I said, "No, he got me my seat here." I said, "Shh." Then they were trying to shush me down. So at the intermission, I ran from the balcony down backstage, and all the stagehands knew I was stage struck anyhow, because I hung around. He says, "Get out of here." And he was standing there. He says, "No, no." He said, "Let him in. Let him in." You remember Edwin and all?
Is that what we told him?
Yes. He said, "Here, come in, come in." He had great jokes, like he says, "Hello." He always carried a telephone with him. "Hello, I'm over at Caboose. Caboose. CBS, Caboose." He said, "You want to come over and see me? You know how to get here? You come down Sunset, you turn on Fairfax. Fairfax is the Jewish neighborhood in Los Angeles. He says, you come down Fairfax, and you go by all the stores, and when you come to one that doesn't have a salami hanging in the window, that is to me." So he says to me, he says, "How do you like the show?" I said, "Fine." So he says, "You ever seen an audience before?" I said, "No." So he held me up to the asbestos curtain. They had a curtain that used to come down for fire regulations. Fire regulations. So he held me up, and I saw the audience coming back in, and I fell in love with them.
Was that your first
That's
audience?
my family. That's been my family all these years. So he says to me, "Those are called border lights up there. Those are the border lights." He says, "In front of the curtain, there's light they call footlights. Footlights. So you want to be a comedian, huh? Well, remember, just do comedy. Always say funny things. Not only say funny things, do funny things. But when you say things, say them funny. Now the scene changes. We kept in correspondence with each other all these years. I go down for a wardrobe fitting to the studio, and he's doing his first serious role in the Rec Room for a heavyweight. I look over and I see a car parked, and I look real close. I said, "Well, it looks like Edwin." I go over, and he's drunk, and he didn't drink. And I says, "Ed, what's the matter?" He says, "I can't go on and do this." He says, "The day the show's going to go on." He says, "I'm not going on. I'm not going on." I said, "Come on." I stayed with him all day. We filled him with coffee and stuff. I found out one thing. Never give a drunk coffee.
Why?
Well, because then you got a loudmouth drunk. It's full of coffee. See?
Better they go to sleep.
Better they go to sleep. So anyhow, he did the show. Now, they showed it to the East Coast. Then they have a kinescope in those days that they ran later on the West Coast. And I sent him a telegram. I says, "Ed, you were wonderful, but remember, just do comedy." Yeah.
Great story.
Yeah.
We need to take a break. We're back after this with the amazing Mr. Red Skelton. Whose hat is that?
This is mine. That's the famous brown hat. That's what I did all those different things with, different characters that and the crooked politician, San Fernando Red. Always like him, he says, "He's my friends, and you are my friends. Don't say you're not my friends, because nobody is going to tell me who my friends are. I want you to know this is going to be a clean campaign. I'm not going to throw mud at my opponent, because he's a fine man. Fine man. His wife, mighty fine woman. Mighty fine. What he sees in that dame he's running around with, I'll never know." Then I turned it upside down. It's Junior, Junior, the mean little kid. He says, "Junior, you pulling that cat's tail?" "No, I'm not pulling the cat's tail. I'm holding on. He's doing the pulling."
Where did you develop these characters from? Were these people you knew or think? Did you ever see a mean little kid that you based it on?
Well, see, my father died before I was born, and I went into show business when I was 10 years old. The people
playing
said,
a guitar at a medicine show?
Yeah, the medicine show. Now, for the benefit of those that don't know what a medicine show was, it was a platform out in an open field, and we used to give a free show, and they would sell their products. See,
right.
They call it television now. A medicine show, and I never had a childhood. So I think basically what I did was create Junior, and I lived my childhood. I think that's why my little boy only lived 10 years. I saw my childhood through his eyes, you know? Yeah. And so then on my television show, they bring political jokes in. I said, Clem can't do political jokes.
Clem could do.
So I made up San Fernando Red. And with Freddie the Freeloader, you know, he said, a nice cigar. I didn't do so well this morning. It was raining when I got up, you know. He said, nowadays when you find a good cigar, you can't find a place to smoke it. You know?
I got to tell you who my favorites were.
Gertrude and Heathcliff.
Yeah. Gertrude and Heathcliff. Now, where did they come from? Where'd that idea come from?
I was down at the beach, Santa Monica, and I saw these birds standing there looking at me. So I said, Aesop is right. Aesop's right. These things, the animals talk to each other, you know? Like the bear said to the skunk, where do you get this stuff? Animals talk to each other. These two seagulls. He says, you're always worrying about things. He says, I know. He says, I know. Right now I'm worried about Willie the whale. He says, why? That's the way they talk. Why? He says he fell in love with a submarine. Now every time they fire a torpedo, he hands out cigars.
You do, I think it's 150 different characters in your repertoire?
No, I guess over the years I've done that quite a few, not quite that many.
Who is the most popular? Who's the one they love the most?
Well, you know they still get fan mail?
No.
After 20 years, at Christmas time, Freddie the Freeloader, about a couple of years ago, received 5 Christmas cards. One card had $2 in it, one had $5 in it. And they said, we know that you're not on television anymore, and we want you to have a nice Christmas. So I answered back, asked Freddie. I said, Red takes good care of me. I work on the ranch, and he takes good care of me and stuff. And you were very kind to send me the money, and I would like to have one of Red's reproductions, you know. Now, don't send me letters.
This year he'll get 20,000 as well.
So he said, I'd send them back a little thing. And then Clem gets letters all the time. Clem, yeah.
Clem Kidilopper.
She's You know that Johnny Carson, that one of the first divorces he got was because of Clem Kidilopper?
No.
He used to write for me. Did you know this?
No.
Yeah, Johnny wrote for me. Johnny had a program that ran for 5 minutes in the morning in Los Angeles. And I see this kid on television. He's only on for 5 minutes. So I go down to the station. He's on about 6:30 in the morning. Eh? So I go down and I says, I'll be your guest star. I was his first guest star he ever had, see? So I'm sitting there, and he's got 5 minutes, and he ignores me. See? All the time he does his commercial for butternut coffee. The worst coffee you ever taken in your life. So the next day I go down again, and I says, we'll keep this going all week long. So the next day he goes down, he turns around, he looks at me, and he says, but he doesn't say anything, see? People know who I am because I'm already on television. So then the third day, he says, we got a guest star today. What was your name? I says, Red Skelton. He's a likely story. And then he went into the commercial, and that was it. So this went all week long, and on Friday, when it came on, I was sitting there where he sat. I had him tied up in the thing.
Oh, that's great.
So, and then when he lost his sponsor because I did the commercial. And I told him what I thought of the coffee. I went to this restaurant the other day, and the butter was so strong, I walked over and said hello to the coffee, and the coffee was too weak to answer. So then he used to write for me. So he'd write these Gertrude and Heathcliff stories, and he'd sit at his desk and go, and she'd come in and see him. She thought he was losing his mind.
Is this a true story?
This is a true story. I was on with Johnny a couple of times, and he ran the first thing. He had a kinescope of it. See?
You handsome devil. We're going to take a commercial break, and I'm not telling you who the sponsor is, and we'll be back right after this.
Don't go away, they got a sponsor.
We're back with Red Skelton. We were supposed to have another guest on this show, but this man's so incredible, we looked at the other guy and said, go home and come back tomorrow. We have some questions.
Come back.
No! That's a promise. Okay. We have some questions from the audience. You have a question you want to ask?
Yes, I know you've entertained a lot of U.S. presidents.
Yes.
Which one is the most enjoyable that you remember?
Well, there were two. Nixon had the greatest sense of humor of any of them.
Oh.
And from Roosevelt, I was the official master of ceremonies for 6.5 years at the White House under the Roosevelt administration. And I did a horrible thing to him one time. I went over and I says, the people at the theater don't think I know you. And he used to send for me, send his car over, not all the time, about maybe once a month, sometimes twice a month. And I'd sit there, and while he fed Fella, his little dog, I'd sit there and tell him jokes and stuff. So I said, they don't think I know you. Now, I know that you and the Secret Service go over to this little restaurant on Tuesday nights. If I'm in there and you come over, will you at least say hello? He said, why, certainly, Red. You know, be happy to. So I go, I don't tell the acts on the bill that I'm going to where the president's going to be. So I wait 10:30, nothing happened. 11:15, nothing happened. 11 o'clock, nothing happened. I said, gee, I'm glad I didn't tell him. All of a sudden, the door opens, and in comes these Secret Service guys, and he came in, and he was in his wheelchair. So he comes by, and he said, Red. I said, please, Frank, not when I'm with guests. But Nixon, to give you an idea of the sense of humor that Nixon had, he gave a birthday party for Mamie Eisenhower, and he sent out these invitations, $1,000 a plate. And down in the corner it said, Roquefort cheese, 50 cents extra.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
Very funny.
Is it true that you keep a daily record of things that have happened to you? And what
Yes,
you've
all
learned?
day long. I write down 5 of the most interesting things that happened, 5 things I never knew before, and 5 of the most humorous things that have happened through the day.
You do this every day?
Every night before I go to sleep.
Will you be writing your autobiographies?
I've got over 1,600 books.
1,600? It's a little long.
Yeah, but ever since I was 10 years old, I've kept notes every day of different things that happened. So when these, I've had several books written about me, and I've never met the people that wrote them.
But will you write one someday?
Well, I won't. Maybe Mrs. Skelton will put this stuff together, because not that I'm ashamed of anything I did, but I wouldn't want to relive that stuff again, you know? Like, and the people ask, how's humor changed? I'll give you an idea how humor's changed. In Wheeling, West Virginia, I got the show arrested. I was in burlesque at the time. Now, in burlesque in those days, they had children in the audience. There were no vulgarities or anything. But I did this one joke. Satire is what we did. Burlesque in those days, we did a satire of the gay 90s, and we did a satire of Cleopatra in this road show that I was in. So we're singing this song, Tell Me Pretty Maiden, are there any more at home like you? And we're all in those old gay 90 outfits, see? And I kneel in front of this girl, and I said, I'll show you how humor has changed. I said, would you like to take a little walk? And she lifts her skirt to her ankles, and she says, I think it's going to rain. I said, what? She said, I think it's going to rain. I said, I'd like to see it clear up. And we got arrested. Yeah.
Do you have a photographic memory. Your memory is just, you do.
Yeah, my wife, I tell people she got a photographic mind. She has not developed yet. Yes, I can. Now I'll see you. Now I can tell you what where we met, where you sat. You sat in front of the up in the room, a special room. They had it set up with food. You were in front of the table, and there was another lady sat next to you who was married to the man who was putting on the big show.
That's right.
And across in a chair on this side was Margaret Thatcher, and I was seated over on this side of her, and Havana was right there. She was in a chair all by herself, you know.
That's amazing.
And my wife says to me, if you look at her, you'll go blind. Yeah. So I said to her, I'm going to risk one eye.
Okay. We have to go to commercial. We'll be back.
Don't apologize.
By the way, we're back. This is our last segment, coming up with the amazing, the talented, the wonderful Mr. Red Skelton.
Go to the racetrack in a pickpocket. A pickpocket. I feel his hand going into my pocket. I reached through and shook hands with him. True story.
We only have a couple of minutes left. We have a few more questions.
Is it true that you don't like to talk on the telephone and that you have a fear of fires?
Yeah, no, I don't like to talk on the telephone. I'll tell you why. A man saw me at a theater and he says, come into the office, I think I can book you. So the phone rang and he said, oh, hello, Charlie, I'll get rid of this bum in a couple of minutes. How you doing, Charlie? How's your wife? What a tramp she is, you know? So I thought, if he talks like that and is supposed to be his friend, what are you going to say about me when he's gone? So I've never talked on the phone since. So now I've worked out the habit of people that know me never say, can I talk to Red? Because they know I won't answer the phone, you know? Yeah.
Do you have a fear of fire?
Fear of fire?
Yeah.
Well, when I was a little boy, after my father died, he died before I was born. He died in May. I was born in July. He couldn't face it. But then his half-brother burned down the house and the store, which was connected together, that my mother had willed to her. And he burned down the store, and I was about 2 years old. And I remember, even to this day, taking me through the fire. I can close my eyes and see it, you know. And another thing, too, I can't get in a tub of water. Or I can't get into a swimming pool.
Why?
Because when I was little, they tried to drown me in a swimming pool, in a gravel pit. They threw me in this thing, and I could see that mucky water and stuff, and I was cold, you know.
Who tried to drown you?
The kids I was playing with, my brothers, and all of them, they would throw me in there. They were playing religion. Yeah, it started off, they dunked me down, he pulled me up and says, do you believe? And before I could say anything, he dunked me down again. Do you believe now? I said, God, down and went again. Do you believe? I said, yeah, I believe you're trying to drown me. And he threw me down and walked away, and I stayed at the bottom. And finally, my other brother jumped in and rescued me, brought me out. So to this day, whenever I get, I carry a medal with me. I'll show it to you later. I usually wear it around my neck, especially when I'm on the plane or anything. In case I faint, do not throw cold water on me. Because I faint, I go out further and further and further. I've given up 3 times for dead. You know?
You've been what? Really? 3 times?
Yeah, 3 times. They said, this guy's dead. I say, no, I'm not. But they couldn't hear me. You know? Yeah. Because I keep going out further and further and further when that cold water hits me. I'm a weirdo. Yeah,
We've come to the end. We only have about a minute left, 30 seconds left. I just wanted to thank you for keeping your promise and tell you that I told you I could retire now. You're one of the most wonderful people I've ever met. Oh. This has been one of the best shows I've ever done, and I want you to know I love you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Red Skelton.